Since the Columbine High School shooting in 1999, more than 150,000 U.S. students at 170 different schools have personally experienced a campus shooting. They're being called the mass shooting generation. Millennials, born between the early 80s and late 90s, don't remember a time before scenes like these played out with regularity on TV. So it's no surprise that nearly all millennials agree the US has a gun problem. The vast majority, 80%, say the US has a problem with mass shootings. And 78% say it's currently way too easy to buy a gun. So then you'd expect millennials to be hardcore anti-gun activists, right? Not necessarily. When it comes to the Second Amendment, more than 2/3 support the right to bear arms in some way, and only 3% say they would repeal it immediately.
Millennials have entered the electorate at a time in which violent crime and homicide in the U.S. are at historic lows. And you wouldn't know that from news coverage, which tends to, be very sensationalist and focus on crime. They are living in a culture and a time where they don't have the same direct experience with either guns or violent crime that has directed opinions about guns for earlier generations.
It turns out millennials are in many ways more conservative than their parents when it comes to gun control. For example, among all age groups, they're the least likely to support a law requiring gun buyers to wait 5 days before receiving a handgun. And they differ when it comes to concealed weapons. 66% of millennials say concealed weapons would make the country safer. That's far more than their parents or their grandparents. And after military-style weapons like the AR-15 were used in mass shootings, you might expect young people would support a ban on assault rifles, but that wasn't the case for a long time. Millennials are by far the least likely to support banning these weapons, less than half of 18 to 34-year-olds. Compare that to the older generations. 77% of seniors support a ban. Unlike hardliners on the right and on the left, millennials are comfortable somewhere in the middle, where you can support the Second Amendment, but also demand reasonable gun control.
The millennial generation in the United States is the most racially and ethnically diverse generation the country's ever seen. So something like 40% of millennials are non-white. And over the last 5, 10, 15 years, those populations, Black and Latino Americans, have developed a very, very ambivalent relationship with law enforcement and therefore government. And so my instinct is that part of what's going on here is that those populations are less enthusiastic than whites of similar political values about the idea of government regulating their access to firearms.
I was 15 years old when the Columbine High School shooting made me realize my school could be a target. And for today's students, it looks like the Parkland school shooting could be a similar turning point.
We are taking action! Wow!
Remember that statistic about assault rifles? In the latest poll, taken just after the Parkland school shooting, 61% of millennials now support a ban on assault weapons. That's a 12% increase in just 3 months.
It's possible that an event like this could catalyze a sustained change in public opinion among this generation. And this is a generation that speaks social media. It's quite possible that they are more adept and more quick at using these new tools to make points about politics and public affairs that could be, and certainly so far have been, quite compelling and engaging. And so it's possible that this is a game changer.
I've had enough of thoughts and prayers, the hashtags, all of it. We need to make actual change.
The fact that all of you are out here today is showing that this is a turning point in American history, and we are not.
To every politician who is taking donations from the NRA, shame on you.